The winds howl through the Himalayas like a chorus of the divine, foretelling a destiny yet to be fulfilled. In a small village nestled in the mountains, a young monk named Kaito stands at the threshold of greatness. The village elder, a wise and aged sage, has chosen Kaito to succeed him as the spiritual leader of the community. This decision is not taken lightly, for it is a call from the heavens, a beacon of hope in a world torn apart by doubt and uncertainty. Kaito's ascension to leadership is met with a mixture of emotions in the village. Some see in him a new beginning, a breath of fresh air that will bring new ideas and perspectives to a community that has been stagnant for too long. Others, however, are skeptical, questioning the wisdom of the elder's decision and the qualifications of the young monk. Akan, a rival monk with a reputation for cunning and ambition, begins to spread dissent and controversy throughout the village.
He questions Kaito's ability to lead, highlighting his inexperience and lack of wisdom. The villagers, swayed by Akan's words, begin to doubt Kaito's fitness for the role. The air is filled with anger and resentment as the community is torn apart by heated debates and arguments. Kaito, feeling the weight of the responsibility and the pressure from the community, struggles to stay silent in the face of criticism. He feels the need to defend himself, to prove to the villagers that he is worthy of the elders' trust. But he knows that anger and pride will only escalate the situation, and that the path to leadership is not a battle to be won, but a journey to be undertaken with humility and faith. As the days pass, Kaito becomes increasingly withdrawn, his mind consumed by the weight of his own doubts and fears. He questions whether he is truly worthy of the elders' trust, whether he has what it takes to lead the community to greater heights. The silence that surrounds him is oppressive, a reminder of the expectations that hang over his head like a specter. But Kaito's silence is not a sign of weakness, nor is it a lack of conviction. It is, rather, a testament to his faith and his trust in the divine plan. For in the stillness of his heart, he knows that the path ahead is not one of his own choosing, but one that has been laid out before him by a power greater than himself. In the midst of this turmoil, a secret intervention takes place. Kaito is taken to a mountain retreat, a place of solitude and contemplation, where he can seek guidance and wisdom. There, he meets a wise old sage, a keeper of ancient secrets and a seer of the divine. The sage's words are like a balm to Kaito's soul, a reminder that the struggles he faces are not his own, but a test of his character and faith. "This is a trial by fire," the sage says, his eyes burning with a deep inner light. "The flames of doubt and fear will temper your spirit, but it is up to you to allow them to refine you, to purify you of all impurities. The world is a place of darkness and confusion, but it is also a place of great beauty and wonder. It is for you to choose which path you will follow, and to trust that the divine will guide you every step of the way." Kaito listens with an open heart, his mind and spirit receptive to the sage's words. He sees in the wise old man a reflection of his own soul, a reminder of the deep well of wisdom and knowledge that lies within him. And with this newfound understanding, he returns to the village, his silence speaking louder than any words. The villagers, seeing the peace and serenity in Kaito's eyes, finally accept him as their leader. They see in him a sense of calm and confidence, a sense of purpose and direction. And as they follow him, they begin to see the world in a new light, a world of wonder and possibility, a world that is full of challenges and opportunities, but also full of hope and promise. For Kaito, the young monk who was chosen by the village elder to succeed him, is more than just a leader. He is a sign of the times, a harbinger of a new era of peace and understanding. He is a reminder that the divine is always at work, guiding and directing us towards a path of greatness and fulfillment. And as he walks among the villagers, his heart filled with love and compassion, they see in him a reflection of the divine, a reminder of the power and wisdom that lies within every human soul.
A darkness gathers, like the whispers of a tempest, in the village nestled in the Himalayas. The air is thick with unspoken words, and the winds howl with discontent. A storm is brewing, one that will shake the very foundations of this sacred place.
And at its center, a young monk named Kaito stands, chosen by the village elder to succeed him as the spiritual leader. But not everyone in the village sees fit to acknowledge Kaito's destiny. A rival monk, a Khan, arises like a serpent from the shadows, spreading dissent and controversy like a malignant seed. He questions Kaito's qualifications, casting doubts upon his character and faith. The villagers, caught in the whirlwind of debate, are torn asunder by conflicting opinions and passions. As the tempest rages on, Kaito feels the weight of criticism bearing down upon him. He is buffeted by the winds of adversity, his heart heavy with the burden of responsibility. He knows that he must defend himself, that he must prove his worth to the villagers. But he also knows that anger and pride will only escalate the situation, leaving destruction and chaos in their wake. In this maelstrom, Kaito searches for guidance, for a sign from the divine to show him the way forward. He seeks solace in the stillness of the night, praying for wisdom and clarity. And it is in this quiet darkness that God's secret intervention begins to unfold. A vision comes to Kaito, a vision that will change the course of his life forever. He is taken to a mountain retreat, a place of ancient wisdom and timeless truth. There, he meets a wise old sage, a sage who holds the secrets of the universe within his gaze. The sage speaks to Kaito in a voice that is both gentle and commanding, a voice that echoes the whispers of the divine. "This argument, Kaito," he says, "is a test designed to reveal your true character and faith. By staying silent, you have passed this test, demonstrating your humility and commitment to spiritual growth." And in that moment, Kaito understands the nature of the storm that has been unleashed upon him. He sees that it is not a battle to be won or lost, but a test of his mettle, a challenge to his character and faith. And he knows that he must rise above the noise, above the arguments and the criticisms, to claim his rightful place as the spiritual leader of the village. But the storm rages on, a tempest that threatens to consume all in its path. The villagers, caught in the midst of the debate, are torn asunder by conflicting opinions and passions. They cry out for answers, for guidance in the darkness. And it is in this moment of chaos and confusion that Kaito returns to the village, his eyes shining with a newfound conviction. He walks among the villagers, his silence speaking louder than any words. His presence is like a beacon of hope, a guiding light in the darkness. And as they look into his eyes, they see the peace and serenity that has been born of his trial and his triumph. They see the wisdom and the compassion that has been forged in the fire of adversity. And slowly, the villagers begin to accept Kaito as their leader. They see that he is not a man of anger or pride, but a man of humility and faith. They see that he is not a master of words, but a master of silence, a silence that speaks louder than any argument or debate. And they know that they have been given a great gift, a gift of wisdom and guidance in a world that is increasingly lost and confused. The storm has passed, the tempest has subsided, and in its place, a calm and peaceful silence has descended upon the village. A silence that is not born of fear or doubt, but of faith and trust. A silence that speaks of the divine, of the presence of God in all things. And it is in this silence that Kaito stands, a young monk who has been transformed by the trials and tribulations of his journey. He is no longer the same man who stood at the center of the debate, struggling to find his place in the world. He is now a man of wisdom and compassion, a man who has been forged in the fire of adversity, and he stands as a beacon of hope, a guiding light in a world that is increasingly lost and confused. The storm may have passed, but its legacy remains. The villagers have been changed by the experience, transformed by the trials and tribulations of their journey. They have been given a gift of wisdom and guidance in a world that is increasingly complex and difficult. And they know that they will carry this gift with them, a reminder of the power of faith and trust in the face of adversity. And so the village moves forward, a new chapter unfolding in its history, a chapter that is marked by peace and serenity, by wisdom and compassion, a chapter that is born of the silence that speaks louder than any words, of the presence of God in all things. And at its center, Kaito stands, a young monk who has been transformed by the trials and tribulations of his journey, a man who has been given a great gift, a gift of wisdom and guidance in a world that is increasingly lost and confused. In the stillness of the night, a figure stood atop a rugged mountain, gazing out into the vast expanse of the Himalayas. The wind whispered secrets in his ear, and the stars above twinkled like diamonds in a celestial tapestry. This was no ordinary place, for it was here that the veil between worlds was thin, and the whispers of the divine were audible to those who listened. And so, it was here that Kaito, the young monk, found himself, his spirit transported to this sacred site by forces beyond his comprehension. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy, and the silence was palpable, a heavy blanket that wrapped around him like a shroud. As he stood there, a figure emerged from the shadows, tall and imposing, with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of the ages. This was the wise old sage, a being of great power and insight, one who had watched the unfolding of the universe for centuries. "Kaito, son of the mountains," the sage spoke in a voice that rumbled like thunder, yet was as gentle as a summer breeze. "You have been brought here for a reason, for a test that will reveal the true nature of your character and faith." Kaito's eyes widened as the sage's words washed over him like a wave. He felt a sense of trepidation mixed with a hint of curiosity. What did this test entail? What lay ahead? The sage's eyes seemed to bore into his very soul, searching for the answer to a question that only Kaito knew. "The village is torn apart by controversy and dissent," the sage continued. "Akan, the rival monk, has sown seeds of doubt and uncertainty, and the villagers are left to wonder if they have chosen the right leader." Kaito's heart sank, for he knew that the weight of responsibility rested squarely on his shoulders. He felt the pressure of expectation, the burden of living up to the village elder's legacy. "But this, Kaito, is not a test of your abilities or your qualifications," the sage said, his voice dripping with wisdom. "It is a test of your character, of your faith, and of your commitment to spiritual growth." As the sage spoke, the wind whispered secrets in Kaito's ear, and the stars above seemed to twinkle in synchronization with the sage's words. The young monk felt a sense of clarity, as if the fog that had shrouded his mind had lifted, revealing a path forward that he had not seen before. "Silence is not the absence of words, Kaito," the sage said, his eyes glinting with insight. "It is the presence of the self, unencumbered by the noise of the world. It is the willingness to listen, to observe, and to learn." Kaito's mind reeled as the sage's words sank in. He realized that the test was not about defending himself, but about trusting in the process, trusting in the divine plan that had brought him to this place. "And what of Akan?" Kaito asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "What of the rival monk who has caused so much strife?" The sage's expression turned stern, yet not unkind. "Akan
is a messenger, a herald of the darkness that lies within each of us. He represents the fear of the unknown, the fear of change, and the fear of not being in control. Kaito's eyes widened as the truth dawned on him. He saw that Akan was not the enemy, but a reflection of the village's own fears and doubts. He was a reminder that the true enemy was not the rival monk, but the ego, the pride, and the attachment that fueled the controversy. "And what of me, wise one?" Kaito asked, his voice filled with a sense of longing. "What of my role in this drama?" The sage's eyes shone with a deep understanding. "You, Kaito, are the vessel of the divine, the chosen one, destined to lead the village on a path of spiritual growth and enlightenment. You are the silent warrior, the still pool of water that reflects the truth of the universe." As the sage spoke, the wind died down and the stars above seemed to twinkle in approval. Kaito felt a sense of peace wash over him, a sense of knowing that he had been given a great gift, a great responsibility. "I will not speak out against Akan," Kaito declared, his voice firm and resolute. "I will not defend myself, for I trust in the divine plan. I will trust in the silence and in the stillness, and I will let the truth speak for itself." The sage nodded, a hint of a smile on his lips. "You have passed the test, Kaito. You have demonstrated your humility, your commitment to spiritual growth, and your trust in the divine plan. You are ready to lead the village on a path of enlightenment and to guide them towards the truth." As the sage spoke, the mountain retreat began to fade away, and Kaito found himself back in the village, surrounded by the faces of the people he had come to serve. He looked out at them with eyes that shone like the stars above, and he knew that he had been given a great gift, a gift of wisdom, of compassion, and of trust in the divine plan. As Kaito descended back into the village, the crisp mountain air thickened with anticipation. The whispers of the villagers, like autumn leaves rustling in the wind, carried the weight of skepticism. The wise old sage's words echoed within him, a gentle yet unyielding voice that refused to be silenced. "This is a test, a crucible to refine your spirit." Kaito's feet touched the dusty path, and the earth beneath him seemed to tremble in response to his presence. The villagers, sensing the shift, began to stir. Some stepped forward, their faces a canvas of doubt, while others retreated, their eyes downcast in submission. The wind carried the fragrance of incense, a reminder of the prayers that had been offered up for the village's salvation. In the midst of this turmoil, Kaito stood tall, his heart a flame that burned brighter with each passing moment. The sage's vision lingered within him, a beacon of light that guided him through the tempest. He knew that the test was not about defending his worth or seeking validation from the masses, but about embracing the silence that spoke louder than any words. "What do I do?" Kaito's inner voice whispered as the villagers closed in around him. Their words, like a torrent of water, threatened to wash away the foundations of his resolve. "How can I remain silent in the face of such criticism?" The voice of doubt whispered, a serpent that slithered through the shadows of his mind. The villagers, sensing the turmoil within him, pressed their advantage. "You are not worthy," they hissed, their voices a chorus of discord. "You lack the experience and the wisdom to lead us." The words cut deep, a dagger that pierced the heart of his faith. Kaito's eyes widened, and for a moment, he felt the sting of doubt. And yet, the sage's words echoed within him, a gentle reminder of the true nature of the test. It is not about your worthiness or your qualifications. It is about your willingness to surrender to the divine will. Kaito's eyes closed, and he inhaled the mountain air, feeling the wisdom of the sage course through his veins. As he stood there,
the villagers' words began to lose their power. The venom of their criticism, like a snake shedding its skin, fell away, revealing the truth that lay beneath. Kaito's heart, no longer bound by the chains of ego and pride, began to beat in rhythm with the sage's wisdom. The villagers, sensing the shift, fell silent. Their eyes, like the stillness of a mountain lake, reflected the depth of Kaito's conviction. They saw in him a leader who had transcended the petty squabbles of the flesh, a soul who had been tempered in the fire of divine wisdom. In that moment, the villagers knew that Kaito was not just a man, but a vessel for the divine. His silence spoke louder than any words, a language that transcended the boundaries of the human heart. It was a language that spoke directly to the soul, a language that whispered secrets of the universe. As the villagers nodded in acceptance, Kaito's eyes shone with a light that was both fierce and gentle. His heart, now a flame that burned with an inner fire, illuminated the path ahead. He knew that the test was not yet over, that the trials of leadership lay ahead, but he was ready. For in the stillness of the mountain, in the wisdom of the sage, and in the silence of his own heart, Kaito had discovered the secret to true leadership. He had learned to listen to the voice of the divine, to surrender to its will, and to trust in its wisdom. And in doing so, he had become a vessel for the divine, a channel through which the light of the universe could shine. The villagers, sensing the magnitude of what had transpired, stepped back in awe. They knew that they had been given a rare gift, a glimpse of the divine in human form. And they knew that Kaito, the young monk who had been chosen to lead them, was no ordinary man. He was a messenger of the divine, a prophetic voice that spoke directly to the heart. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the village in a warm, orange glow, Kaito's eyes shone with a light that was both fierce and gentle. He stood tall, his heart a flame that burned with an inner fire, a beacon of hope in a world that often seemed dark and unforgiving. The villagers, sensing the shift in the balance of power, began to stir. They knew that a new era had begun, an era of peace and prosperity, of growth and transformation. And at the center of it all stood Kaito, the young monk who had been chosen to lead them. He was a vessel for the divine, a channel through which the light of the universe could shine. In that moment, the villagers knew that they were not just a group of individuals, but a community bound together by a shared vision. They knew that they were part of something greater than themselves, a movement that transcended the boundaries of the human heart. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Kaito's eyes shone with a light that was both fierce and gentle. He knew that the test was far from over, that the trials of leadership lay ahead. But he was ready, for he had discovered the secret to true leadership. He had learned to listen to the voice of the divine, to surrender to its will, and to trust in its wisdom. And in doing so, he had become a vessel for the divine, a channel through which the light of the universe could shine. The villagers, sensing the magnitude of what had transpired, nodded in acceptance. They knew that they had been given a rare gift, a glimpse of the divine in human form. As the night deepened, the village fell silent, the only sound the distant howl of a wolf. But Kaito's eyes shone with a light that was both fierce and gentle, a beacon of hope in a world that often seemed dark and unforgiving. He stood tall, his heart a flame that burned with an inner fire, a prophetic voice that spoke directly to the heart. In that moment, the villagers knew that they were not just a group of individuals, but a community, bound together by a shared vision. They knew that they were part of something greater than themselves, a movement that transcended the boundaries of the human heart. And at the center of it all stood Kaito, the young monk who had been chosen to lead them. He was a vessel for the divine, a channel through which the light of the universe could shine. The villagers, sensing the shift in the balance of power, began to stir. They knew that a new era had begun, an era of peace and prosperity, of growth and transformation. And they knew that they had been given a rare gift, a glimpse of the divine in human form. The winds of change howl through the Himalayas, a storm of doubt and discord brewing in the village below. But amidst the chaos, a subtle stillness begins to take hold, a whisper of truth that will soon shatter the discordant din. Kaito, the chosen one, stands at the threshold of a great test, his heart heavy with the weight of responsibility and the whispers of doubt. In a world torn asunder by the fiery tongues of contention, Kaito chooses a path of unyielding silence. It is a decision born of faith, a trust in the wisdom of the ages and the guidance of the divine. The wise old sage, a messenger of the mysteries, has spoken to him in a language of the heart, revealing the hidden truth of the situation.
This is not a battle to be won, the sage's words echo through Kaito's mind, but a test to be passed. The fire of controversy is but a crucible, a refining flame that will burn away the dross of pride and ambition, revealing the gold of humility and faith. And so Kaito stands firm, his heart unshakable, his spirit unbroken. The villagers, sensing the turmoil within him, press him to respond, to defend himself against the slings and arrows of Akan's malice. But Kaito remains steadfast, a rock of silence in the midst of a tempest. As the days pass, a subtle transformation takes place, a metamorphosis that begins to manifest in the very fabric of the village. The air is filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers, and the sky is painted with hues of sapphire and gold. The villagers, drawn by the gentle breeze of Kaito's presence, begin to notice a change within him. His eyes, once clouded by the mists of doubt, now shine like stars on a clear night, radiant with a light that is both fierce and gentle. Akan, sensing the shift in the balance of power, launches a final assault, seeking to provoke Kaito into a reaction. But the young monk remains calm, a stone unshaken by the winds of adversity. His silence is a boulder, impassive and unyielding, a testament to the power of faith and the wisdom of the ages. The villagers, witnessing this display of equanimity, begin to see Kaito in a new light. They behold the peace and serenity that surrounds him, the gentle aura that radiates from his very being. And in that moment, they understand the truth of the sage's words, that the stillness of the heart is the greatest wisdom, the most powerful of all spiritual practices. As the storm of controversy subsides, the village is bathed in a warm, golden light. The villagers, drawn by the radiance of Kaito's presence, begin to see the world anew, to behold the hidden truths that lie beneath the surface of reality. They realize that the test of Kaito's character was but a reflection of their own, a mirror held up to the soul of the village. And in this moment of clarity, the villagers come to understand the true nature of the conflict that had torn them asunder. They see that the battle was not between Kaito and Akan, but between the forces of light and darkness, between the stillness of the heart and the turmoil of the mind. As the dust of controversy settles, the villagers behold Kaito in a new light, as a symbol of the power of silence and the wisdom of the ages. They see that his stillness was not a sign of weakness, but of strength, a testament to the enduring power of faith and the unshakable resolve of the human spirit. In this moment of revelation, the villagers understand that the true test was not Kaito's, but their own. They realize that the choice between silence and reaction, between stillness and turmoil, is a choice that lies at the very heart of the human experience. As the dawn breaks over the Himalayas, the villagers behold a new reality, a world transformed by the power of silence and the wisdom of the ages. And in the midst of this new world, Kaito stands as a shining example, a beacon of light that guides the village toward a brighter, more radiant future. The stillness of Kaito's heart, has become a catalyst for transformation, a trigger that sets off a chain reaction of growth and renewal. As the villagers look to him as their leader, they are drawn into the vortex of his silence, a silent whirlpool that pulls them toward the center of their own being. In this moment, the villagers understand that Kaito's silence is not an absence of voice, but a presence of power. His stillness is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to the strength of his convictions, a declaration of his commitment to the highest values of the human spirit. As the village begins its journey toward a brighter, more radiant future, Kaito stands at the forefront, a shining example of the power of silence and the wisdom of the ages. His stillness is a reminder that the greatest wisdom lies not in the words we speak, but in the silence we keep. A silence that is a gateway to the deepest mysteries of the human experience. The winds of fate have shifted, and the mountains have spoken. In the realm of the Himalayas, where the heavens touch the earth, a young monk named Kaito stood at the crossroads of destiny. The whisper of the divine had chosen him, and the village elder had anointed him as the spiritual leader to succeed him. But the paths of the righteous are often fraught with obstacles, and the fire of dissent had begun to rise. A rival monk, Akan, with a heart full of malice and a tongue of deceit, had sown the seeds of controversy, questioning Kaito's qualifications and fueling the flames of discord. The village was ablaze with heated debates and arguments, as the faithful and the doubters clashed in a maelstrom of conflicting ideologies. The weight of responsibility and the pressure of the community bore down upon Kaito, testing his mettle and his resolve. But the God of the universe, who weaves his tapestry of destiny with threads of gold and silver, had a plan to bring about redemption and restoration. In the midst of the turmoil, a divine secret was revealed to Kaito in a vision. He was taken to a mountain retreat, where a wise old sage, a guardian of ancient wisdom and mysteries, awaited him. Kaito, son of the divine, this test of fire has been designed to reveal your true character and faith. Your silence in the face of criticism has spoken louder than any words. Your humility and commitment to spiritual growth have been tried, and you have emerged like a phoenix from the ashes, radiant and unscathed. Kaito's eyes, like windows to the soul, shone with a newfound understanding. He saw the divine hand guiding him, and the purpose of the trial became clear. He had been given a choice: to rise to the bait of his critics, or to remain steadfast in his faith. And in that moment of revelation, he knew that he had chosen the path of righteousness. With a heart filled with conviction and a spirit renewed, Kaito returned to the village, his silence now a beacon of hope and inspiration. The villagers, who had once questioned his qualifications, now looked upon him with awe and reverence. They saw the peace and serenity in his eyes, the stillness of a storm-calmed sea, and they knew that they had been wrong to doubt him. The villagers, like a flock of sheep guided by a gentle shepherd, began to follow Kaito, who had become a living embodiment of the divine. They saw in him a reflection of their own hopes and dreams, and they knew that he would lead them to the promised land of peace and harmony. And so, under Kaito's guidance, the village entered a new era of peace and tranquility. The disputes and arguments of the past were forgotten, and the people came together in a spirit of unity and cooperation. The mountain air was filled with the sweet fragrance of forgiveness and reconciliation, and the village became a sanctuary of love and compassion. Kaito, the young monk, had emerged as a spiritual giant, a leader who had been tested and tried in the fires of adversity. His silence had become a powerful tool, a means of communication that spoke louder than any words, and the villagers, who had once doubted him, now looked upon him with gratitude and reverence, knowing that he had been chosen by the divine to lead them on the path of righteousness. As the seasons passed, the village flourished under Kaito's guidance. The crops grew strong and healthy, the people prospered,
and the village became a beacon of hope and inspiration to the surrounding communities. And Kaito, the humble monk, stood at the center of it all, a shining example of the power of humility and spiritual growth. The gods of the Himalayas smiled upon the village, and the wind whispered secrets of the universe to those who listened. The mountain spirits, who had watched over Kaito from the beginning, nodded in approval, knowing that their chosen one had emerged victorious in the test of faith. And so, the story of Kaito, the young monk, serves as a reminder to all who seek to follow in his footsteps. In a world filled with turmoil and uncertainty, the divine provides a secret path of redemption and restoration. The power of humility and spiritual growth can overcome even the greatest obstacles, and the silence of the righteous can speak louder than any words. In the realm of the Himalayas, where the heavens touch the earth, the story of Kaito will be told for generations to come, a testament to the enduring power of faith and the transformative magic of the divine.